Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a fun one because we are going to be playing with and duping the ColourPop Sonic Bloom palette. I received this in PR maybe 2 weeks ago. I've posted a look on Instagram with it already. If you're interested, I'll post a little screenshot here. I just didn't really have time to film with it until today. YouTube content oftentimes takes a lot more to create and edit and all that kind of stuff, so I didn't really have time until this week. So I took the first opportunity I could to do a little duping, a little tutorial. I created this look, and overall just kind of sharing my thoughts on this palette. I will open it up and show the inside. It's all cardboard packaging. There's 12 shades. This is what it looks like on the inside. Pretty, but kind of neutral. And then this is my little duped palette. Here, I'll put them like on top of each other. I had a couple options to dupe for some shades, so that's what these are in the corner here. But yeah, this is my little duped palette. I think I did a pretty good job. They're rather similar. I created this eye look with the palette, and I'll let you guys guess which palette I used on each eye. So on one eye, I used the Sonic Bloom palette, and on the other eye, I used the duped palette. I guess it doesn't really have a name. Sonic Bloom dupe. So yeah, I'll let you guys take a guess. I'm not going to tell you guys right away. I'm going to wait until the little tutorial portion of this video for you guys to find out which side is which. So yeah, I think I did a pretty good job. They are fairly similar. There are a couple differences between the shades, but overall I think they produced a very similar look. Okay, so without further ado, I will show you the duped shades. Okay, so the first shade we have here is called Field Trip. ColourPop describes this one as a matte pale peach with some silver sparkle. To dupe this shade, I used the shade Herbivore from the Garden Variety palette. And I think they're pretty similar. This one might be a little bit lighter almost, maybe. So this is the shade Field Trip, and then this is the shade Herbivore. So next up we have the shade Cosmos, and ColourPop describes this one as a matte cool toned soft taupe. This one I had a little bit of a hard time duping. So the shade I got was from the Stone Cold Fox palette, and it is the shade Stranger. So this is the shade Stranger from Stone Cold Fox, and then this is the shade Cosmos from the Sonic Bloom. This one is a little bit deeper, and it might have a little more of a pinky undertone to it, but overall they're pretty similar. Next up we have the shade Lunar Disco, and ColourPop describes this one as a matte warm beige. Pretty much just like your basic warm toned brown. And to dupe this one, it's not exact, but this is the shade Like a Tatooine from the Mandalorian The Child palette. So this is the shade from the Sonic Bloom palette, Lunar Disco, and then this is the Like a Tatooine. Oh no, hold on. This is the shade Lunar Disco, and then this is the shade Like a Tatooine. This one is a little bit lighter, but other than that, they're fairly similar. Just a little bit of a shade difference. Next up, we have the shade Heyday, and ColourPop describes this one as a metallic warm gold. It is important to note that this shade is not approved for use on the immediate eye area. To dupe this one, I have the shade Uninhibited from the Double Entendre palette. There's also the shade Come On from the Malibu Barbie palette. So there's a couple duping options there, and they're all rather similar. Next up, we have the shade De Bloom, and ColourPop describes this one as a metallic yellow-orange. To dupe this one, I used the shade Tangerine Dreams from the Orangey Glad palette. This is the dupe shade right here, and it is a little bit brighter than the Sonic Bloom shade. Next up we have the shade Perennial, and ColourPop describes this one as a metallic raspberry. To dupe this one, I used the shade Juicy Juicy from the Cherry Crush palette, which is this one right here. It's a little bit deeper. It has the same base shade, but it just doesn't have kind of the same level of reflectiveness. This one is much more metallic and shines brighter versus this one. Next up we have the shade Hello Happy, which is described as a metallic mossy green. This one is nice and duochromatic. You can see that it pulls like more of a warm brown there and then really flashes that green gold. Super beautiful duochrome shade. I duped this one the best I could with the shade Surface from the It's a Mood palette, but as you can see, it has a lot less green in it than the shade from the Sonic Bloom palette, but they do kind of have like that green gold flash and are kind of duochromatic. So they are similar in that sense. But not so similar in the sense where this green duochrome is a lot stronger. And last in this row, we have the shade Verbena, which is described as a metallic mauve with a silver blue duochrome effect. You can really see that flip there. ColourPop's been into these kind of blue-brown shifts lately. The most similar shade I could come up with is the shade Mr. Sandman. This comes as an eyeshadow single, and it also comes in the It's My Pleasure palette. As you can see though, the shade from the Sonic Bloom palette right here, its flash is a lot stronger silvery blue, I find. So yeah, they're both beautiful and both pretty similar. This one just has a stronger flip. Next up, we have the shade Eclipse Season, which is described as a matte rust. To dupe this shade, I use the shade Rainier from the Raw Beauty Kristi ColourPop collab. This is the shade from the Sonic Bloom palette. It pulls a little more almost pink, whereas this one has a little more orange to it, but overall very similar. Next up, we have the shade Daffodil, which is described as a matte, rich fuchsia. It doesn't usually swatch like this. My hand was still kind of wet when I swatched this one, so that's why it kind of looks a little batchy. It actually performed really beautifully on the eyes. So I just went ahead and re-swatched it because it really didn't swatch nicely. So this is the shade from the Sonic Bloom palette, and then this is the shade, I actually don't know, hold on. This is the shade Nest Egg from the Fine Feathered palette. So this one is a little bit brighter and this one has a little bit more depth, but they're very similar. It's not by much. It's also important to note that that fuchsia shade Daffodil, it's also not approved for use on the immediate eye area. And I'm assuming because it's going to stain your skin, that's probably why it's not approved. Next up, we have the shade Utopia, and ColourPop describes this one as a warm chocolate brown. And to dupe this one, I use the shade Homegrown from the Raw Beauty Kristi collab. This is the Sonic Bloom. It has a little bit more warmth to it. This one is just slightly more cool toned, but again, pretty similar. We should have like a similar counter in this video. I feel like I'm saying it with every shade. And lastly, we have the shade Dig Deep, which is described as a matte blackened eggplant. This one is also not approved for use on the immediate eye area. And to dupe this one, I used the shade Had to Be from the It's a Mood palette. I don't even remember which one was which. This one is the Had to Be shade, and it's a little less purple, but really similar. I couldn't tell the difference on the eyes. So overall, a little more about this palette. It is $18 for 12 shades. It is currently on sale for $13.50. It's cruelty free. It's not vegan. I felt personally that this was a fairly easy palette to dupe. Maybe now that we've done the swatches, it'll be a little easier for you to tell which eye is which. So I'll give you guys one final chance to guess which one is the Sonic Bloom palette and which is the dupe palette. Okay, I'm gonna tell you now. I can't keep the secret any longer. I mean, it's not a big secret, but you know. This is the Sonic Bloom palette, and then this is the dupe palette. I think what gives it away for me personally is the lid shade. It's a lot more sparkly and has a lot more of a reflect than this side. But overall, I feel like they look fairly similar. So yeah, without further ado, we can get into how I did this eye look. Okay friends, let's get right into it. My face is really red today. I have a lot of redness. I had my bachelorette party last weekend. It's Monday, so I had my bachelorette party on the weekend, and you know, things, they get a little crazy. So I probably got a lot of inflammation going in my face, so that's why the redness is there. That's the theory I'm going with. I'm first going to prep my eyes. I'm going to use the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer. I got the correct shade. I got the shade Fair Beige. The one that I purchased that was too dark, I gifted to one of my bridesmaids while we were at my bachelorette party. She's a few shades darker, so I feel like it might be a good shade for her. I wasn't too upset about, you know, regifting it because it was such an affordable concealer. Can't complain too much, right? I think I want to go, I don't know. I never know what I want to do with my looks, so let's just get into it. I'm not going to explain what I'm going to try to do. We're just going to go with it. I'm first going to use this Fenty Beauty 230 blending brush. 230? Yeah, 230. And I'm going to grab this shade here called Cosmos. It's like a light toned grayish purple. I'm just gonna tap out any creases before I apply, and I'm just gonna apply that shade Cosmos in the crease. I'm wearing like a bluish shirt today, so I definitely want to go for that bluish purple shade that's in the palette. So yeah, I'm just tapping this all throughout the crease until it's like a nice even layer. I have hairs everywhere that aren't mine. This one is blonde, so that's probably Cassie's or Amy's. Two of my bridesmaids have blonde hair. There's just, I have their hair all over everything. Anyways, now I am just going to grab my Urban Decay The Fix powder. The light shade in this palette will definitely be way too dark for me to use as like a brow bone setting powder, so I'm just gonna use like a face powder. I wish ColourPop would honestly just stop putting those light shades in there because it's not universal for everybody, and I feel like I don't get any use out of them. So like, I would just rather use a face powder personally. And then they could have some more fun with their palettes if they didn't put like one of those light cream shades in every single one, you know? Then I'm just going back in with my Fenty brush. I'm not putting any more product on it, and I'm just gonna kind of buff out this color. And I'm grabbing a little more of that crease shade and I'm kind of taking it out a little bit because I think I want to do more of a wing shape. So I'm going to clean it up after I'm done, but I want to make sure that I take it out far enough. Okay, then I am going to actually go a different route than I was expecting. I'm going to go in with this like bright pinkish purple called Daffodil. It's not really that bright. It kind of has like some depth to it that's really beautiful. I'm going to grab that on just a little blending brush and I'm going to apply this just to the outer corner for like a fun pop, but I want to keep it rather low because I don't want this look to get like too colorful, you know? And I'm doing the same thing by kind of taking what's remaining on the brush and bringing it outwards so that when I clean it up, I can create a nice like sharp wing. I'm just kind of taking what's remaining on the brush and like blending it inwards a little bit so it's not so harsh. I'm gonna go into this shade called Verbena. It's like a purpley bluey shift. It's really pretty. I love those kinds of shades. Actually, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna take a little bit of the KVD Shake Primer and I'm going to apply a little bit of that on my lid. So it's not really like a cut crease, but I'm applying something a little bit tacky to the lid. I have this in my makeup bag because I really do enjoy it, but I feel like I haven't used it in a hot minute, so I kind of want to use it today. So I just applied just one drop on the back of my hand. I love that it's completely invisible. It's so cool. Okay, and now I'm gonna take that eyeshadow, the Verbena one, and I'm just going to apply it over top. Oh yeah, that made it really intense. Kind of has like a warm brown base. Like it kind of reminds me of like a MAC blue-brown pigment, but like it pulls more purpley almost. I'm also just gonna apply a little bit of setting spray. I just sprayed that all over my mirror. Oops. And I'm just going to use that to really kind of sharpen the edge. I don't know if that makes sense. It just kind of makes things like a little more precise. This isn't really turning out quite the way I thought it would, but it's not a bad look. I'm gonna then take this little tiny detailer brush and I'm going to take a super dark brown shade. This is the shade Dig Deep. And I'm going to create like a smoky shadow wing using this. I want to add some depth to the look, but I don't want to deepen out the outer corner, so I'm going to do like a smoky shadow wing instead. Then I'm just using a little different brush to create the wing. This is a Sigma and Jordan Liberty Precision Angle brush. So I'm just drawing a line from the corner of my eye out to my brow on that angle, and then I'm just going to kind of bring it back to the lash line. And it's not really as sharp as I want it at this point in time, but again, when I clean it up, it's gonna really sharpen that edge. And then I'm just gonna go back into this little detailer brush with a little bit more of that shadow, and I'm just gonna kind of run it along the edge here to really soften everything. Okay, then I'm just using some micellar water on a little cotton round, and I'm cleaning up the fallout that I got from this look. And I'm just cleaning up that outer edge. Okay, and that's kind of what the finished look is looking like. I'm gonna do the other eye with my dupes, so I'm going to use the same primer, and I'm gonna do the same thing with my duped palette. I'm gonna speed through this because I already explained the steps when I did this eye, so yeah. Okay, so this is the other eye, obviously. I'm not too happy with this wing, so I'm gonna pop off camera and fix it because I think that could take a while. I'm also going to do the rest of my face, and I will come back and I can show you the completed look with like lashes on and everything, and we can compare. Okay, my friends, and this is how the final look turned out. I really like it, actually. I think it's very pretty, and I think the looks are similar. The main difference is the lid shade, I find. The Sonic Bloom shade has a much stronger blue flip than the dupe that I found in my collection. Other than that, though, I think they're rather similar. I think I did a pretty good job at duping. There's like subtle differences here and there, like the dupe for the orange shade on the inner corner has a stronger gold shift. This one, not as much. The blue sparkle. The crease shade in the Sonic Bloom palette has a lot more warmth to it, whereas the one here was more like pinky cool toned when blended out. But for the most part, I think it's pretty similar. So I'll give you a quick look at both eyes. So overall, I would say that the palette was fairly easy to dupe with my personal collection. If you have an extensive ColourPop collection, you probably have almost every single shade in here. There wasn't anything super special besides this shade right here called Hello Happy. I think that one was definitely the most unique in the palette. Everything else is just kind of dupeable, I guess. Like, they're definitely beautiful shades. It's just, you know, it's more of a basic color story. I really love the packaging. I think if they did more of the packaging, like did something with the teal and the navy bluish purple, I feel like this palette would be a lot more unique. But besides the middle row here, everything is just neutrals except for this shade. So if you have an extensive neutral collection, honestly, I would just say pass on this palette. You can totally get singles in this whole row for about the same price, and then you don't have like the clutter of all of these neutrals if you're not going to use them. So yeah, this is not my favorite ColourPop release, I'll be honest. I think the quality is good, so if the color story really does speak to you, then I don't think you'd be disappointed in this. Color story wise, it just doesn't really speak to my soul personally. The packaging sure does. I just wish it was more reflected on the inside. I just feel like this will be like a forgettable ColourPop launch if you don't have it in your collection, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like this is one that most consumers have already forgotten about. If not, they will soon. I think that's it from me today. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you so much for watching if you've made it this far. Please don't forget to subscribe if you want to. If you don't, that's okay. I just really appreciate you being here. It helps out my channel so very much by you watching, so thank you. Please leave any video requests you may have in the comments down below, and I will see you in my next video. Bye guys!